Well, they say you can't keep a good man down. I can assure you, you can break his ribs. You can break his wrist, you can even break his elbow, and he can have a collapsed lung. Which maybe you can't keep him down. So I did I did swing by the barn this morning. You know, I don't like laying in bed, licking my wounds. I'll live. You know, yeah, broken wrist, broken elbow, and the doctor said, well, do you want to put a cast on your elbow? One of those big foolish casts you see in the movies when, you know, somebody's skiing and hits a tree. And I said, no, I'm good. And the fracture's in the bone. It's called if you have a medical license, to forgive me, non-displaced fracture of the elbow, some bone in my elbow. It hurts, but it's okay. My wrist really hurts. And to be honest, broke my 6th and 12th rib. It hurts, but I can breathe. I've seen people that have cracked their ribs just in excruciating pain, and I feel terrible for them. I feel like clicking. That sounds terrible. I feel like clicking sometimes, but I can breathe. And collapsed lung, I just assume when you collapse your lung, you need a ventilator. You know, I don't know. And the lady said I pricked the sheath around my lung and maybe pricked my lung, but again, I can breathe. So it could always be worse, you know. It took me 42 years to break any bone. Never broke a bone in my life. And I broke 4 yesterday. So I'm much more worried about Sunshine's Finest. I know I'd given everybody an update and said that he's coming, but he's long from out of the woods. He injured the joint. It looks like either in the accident or from the bike flipped over behind him. He's got a chip off his cannon bone, which will heal. But they're very, very concerned about infection in the joint and the joint surface itself. So horses have recovered from this before. I'll tell you that. I was just talking to another veterinarian that told me one of the better horses around here right now had a similar injury in a similar way last year, and had going on to win the Open. So from a medical standpoint, the prognosis is less than even, I'd say. But horses have healed before from this. It's just been such a quirky, weird week, and such a horrible thing with what taken place in the barn recently. Take care. You know, the thing with effusive and just the weird stuff that has gone on. It'll beat you down. And I feel terrible about what happened yesterday, but my brother just sent me the video of the accident. Truthfully speaking, I'm lucky. You know, I don't want to be one of those guys that say you're lucky to be alive. I'm lucky to be talking to you today. I can tell you that. I'm lucky to be sitting in my car and not in a wheelchair or in a intensive care unit. I'm lucky not to have that. But you know what? I want everybody to know that all your well wishes were well received, and knowing that you have the support of hundreds of people all over the world, it's a pretty incredible feeling. So I thank you very much, and don't waste your prayers on me. You know, hopefully we can all pray for Sunshine's Finest to recover, because it's just not something I want to be going through at all. So I thought I'd bring you a qualifying report, mostly because of one horse. I gave you the update on Sunshine's Finest. For those of you who didn't see what happened, the horse in the 3-hole, it looks like he made a little break and stepped on a wheel and fell down and catapulted Bob McClure in the air, and he cracked his pelvis. Phil Houdon broke his foot, I'm told, and I had this happen to me. Pretty painful injury, but nonetheless, I'll recover. The doctor said 8 to 10 to maybe 12 weeks. I told him I'd give him 6. So the biggest thing to recover is my wrist. My shoulder's bruised. My elbow is broken, but it's broken in a way that will heal. I can move it. I can't twist it, but I can move it. I'll be back for stake season. So, what else took place? So I went down yesterday in an early qualifier. Oh, Warwie Ultra. My God. Made a break at the wire. It's hard to explain to everybody, you know, why didn't I just school her? Why didn't I just put her in to go? Why'd I have to qualify her again? Because I was certain she wouldn't run. She was trotting so hard at the wire, she just rolled off. She looks so good now, that filly. 28 seconds on the end of it yesterday. Just looked good. Just rolled off. Not a big deal. We're going to have to obviously requalify her, and I apologize. Should have had her on a schooler, I guess. I just didn't think she'd run. She's so sure-footed. That's a weird thing to say. She never used to be, but she is now. And her mile yesterday was great. Just looked tremendous. I didn't get a chance to look at the chart line. I assume she tried her last half in 57 and a piece 58, last quarter in 28, and looked really, really good doing it. Then unfortunately, I took a trip to the hospital in the next schooler, or qualifier. And Jody, I asked James to go with Screaming Hawk. And Jody was there. James said, I have one in there. So Jody went with him, and I said, listen, let him trot out of there. Just don't fight with him. And I guess Randy and Jody don't like each other. And Randy took Jody and parked him in a qualifier. And I guess Jody just said, I'd rather sit outside and get a flat line than dump him in a hole and see what happens. And by all accounts, he was trotting as good as I said he was the week before. But he made a break halfway down the lane. Pretty disappointing. I want to be angry, but Jody doesn't know the horse, and people can say, well, he drove him last year, maybe he did, or he schooled him, but it's a long time in between two trips, and I get along really good with him. He made a break. He makes another break. I'm going to turn him out for a month. This horse, I am saying, is going to be a nice horse. Just going to take time. And for those of you who want off the Screaming Hawk bus, I'll help you out however you want to, but I want on it, and I've been on it now for the last little while. And I'm going to continue on it. I think Screaming Hawk is a nice horse. And I'm not going to make excuses for him. I didn't even see the qualifier. But I know the horse I saw school last week was very good. So we're just going to continue to let him grow and mature and cool down and take good care of him and wait for him to turn into the horse I know he will. Now, the reason I wanted to make this video was for the schoolers. Now, 3 horses schooling that were of importance. I wanted to school Casanova's Jewel, but there was an issue when I got hurt trucking the horses around. They had to truck Sunshine's Finest up to the university, and they were supposed to come back and get Casanova's Jewel and bring him to the schoolers. Obviously, that couldn't happen. So he'll school on Monday, which is fine. Giving Cass another couple of extra days isn't a big deal. So he didn't school. Cruising in Style schooled. Now, he was a little flat, I'll be honest. Sylvain came to the hospital last night, and I talked to him. He went with Cruising in Style, said he was a little flat, but they scoped him after, and he had some mucus in his airway. So we'll just school him again next week before we qualify him. Delcrest Star Angel, 2-1. Sylvain said she's a little tired at the wire, but trotted 29 in a piece. I said, well, Sylvain, she had trained 5 or 6 times in 220, 218, 215, and then I went in 2.5, and then you went in 2.1. She's tired. She just worked a little too hard. So we'll school her another couple of times, but man, oh man, she looks good from what I was told by the grooms. And after I explained the situation to Sylvain, he said, well, then she was very good. So Delcrest Star Angel was very, very good yesterday. White Tiger. James called me, and I know he called me to talk about Tiger. Obviously, I'm sure he wants to drive now that I can't drive, but he called me, hey, you all right? Everything's okay? Anyway, White Tiger, he said, White Tiger, he said, might have schooled better than any horse I've ever gone with in my life. Now, James schools a lot of good horses, qualifies a lot of good horses, drives a lot of good horses, and for him to get super excited about a horse, a driver that goes with a lot of horses, says a lot. This was the first time we put hobbles on White Tiger. And James said, listen, I'll be honest. I went a mile in 2-1. I know you wanted me to go in 58. I went in 2-1. He tried his last quarter in about 26-2. And this sounds stupid, but I had trouble pulling him up. And I think if I pull the earplugs halfway down the lane, maybe he comes 25 in a piece. And he said, I went over the math 2 or 3 times, and then I asked the guy that was beside me, what was the 3 quarters? Maybe I made a mistake. He came 26-2, 26-3, mile in 2-1. He said, Anthony, this horse is unbelievable. I said, I know he is. So White Tiger was incredibly good. I'd like to qualify him in 56 next week. If he is strong, he'll go to his first stake race. He has to show us, like, we have to be realistic and know that the horse is going to trot 54, 55 his first start. Is that too much? If it is, at all, if James is not completely convinced that his first trip will not be a problem, and again, we'll school him, we'll qualify him next Thursday, and then he'll school 4 days or 5 days before the Meadows. If we decide that that's where we're going, then he'll school 4 or 5 days for the Meadows in 59, and then away we go. If not, then not. We got a long year. We got a lot of fish to fry with this big guy. And Breeders' Crowns in November. It's May. So it's almost May. His first race could be May 11th. So that's 6 months of racing. It's a lot. So we'll play it by year, but White Tiger, by all accounts, James did say it was the nicest horse he ever schooled, that he could remember trotter. So that says a lot, doesn't it? Very, very happy with White Tiger. Then last night we raced Simba. He said Simba was on the right line, but again, I don't have the exact math, so I apologize if I'm wrong. I think he trotted his last half in 56 and a piece, 57, last quarter in 28. He said he was on the right line, and that's why he got stalled in the last turn. He's done that before, but I don't really know why he does that or why he did that, but we didn't have any gear on the inside of him. Head pull, bit burr on the inside, a little change of the bit, and I don't think there'll be any problems for Simba. We'll race him right back. I want to say next Thursday, but we have Arvika and Timel Houdini to race. He might have to wait till a week Monday. It's not the end of the world. Anyway, those are those. We did not, again, Timel Houdini trained here yesterday, 2-7. Here is the farm. Don't tell Amy I'm at the farm. She left to go get blood taken and get shots for the baby. I said, honey, I'll drive the kids over to school. All right? She goes, no, stay in bed. I said, I'll drive the kids over to school. I did. And then I came to the barn. So, ow. I'm still at the barn. I'm leaving here in just a second when I finish this video, I promise. Don't tell Amy. So, Ivanka, she was a little lame left front after she qualified, which makes sense, because I know Ivanka can be a cheater sometimes, but she should have went more, and I think she's got a pus pocket coming out of her left front foot. They said she warmed up a little pinchy yesterday. We're going to make a shoe and change. So I watched her jog the other day. I thought she was off a little bit left front. So the way she looked like she was protecting her foot, it was on, I believe, the inside hind quarter of her left front foot. So here, this is the foot, the hind quarter on the inside. So I'm going to have the blacksmith make a shoe up, comes around here, and then cuts that corner off and goes straight across to the other shoe, the other side of the shoe. That's called taking the pressure off there. I'm going to ask Felix to come and put a, it's called a window bar. I'm going to ask him to come put a window bar on Ivanka. If it is that inside hind quarter of that foot, she should sound up right away, or at least be mostly sound. And then we'll work on getting what's in there out of there. It's likely a pus pocket or a quarter crack coming. So we will get that patched up right away. She was supposed to school yesterday, and obviously I don't want her schooling when she's not 100%. So we'll probably get that window bar on. If everything goes well, we'll school her on Monday at Mohawk. So that's that. Hawk made a break. Finest got injured, and I did too. And Warwi Ultra made a break. So qualifying was a really shitty day, wasn't it? I didn't watch Screaming Hawk's video. I haven't got to look at the videos yet. Curtis sent me the video of the accident, and that was enough videos for me for the day. 180-pound man should not go that high in the air. And the ground was not forgiving. I know that. So, kind of a crappy day qualifying, but Ultra will qualify next week, no problem. Hawk, obviously I can't go with Hawk. I'll get James to go with Hawk, and we'll get him on track, or I'll turn him out for a couple of weeks. But for those of you who are worried about Screaming Hawk, I'm going to tell you the same thing I did before. Don't. I'm not. And if you desperately need out of Screaming Hawk, I'm sure we can work out some sort of a trade or arrangement. I'll make that public right now to everybody that wants out of Screaming Hawk. I want in to Screaming Hawk. So if you desperately want out, I do have shares of horses that we can trade if you'd like. I know there's not a ton of money there to be buying shares up, but I'm sure we can work something out. Finest, prayers for Sunshine's Finest. We won't know anything for 10 days. 10 days with no infection in the bone and the joint increases his prognosis substantially. So that's what we need to see. Warwi Ultra, there'll be no problem with her qualifying next week. She was just trotting so hard on the end of it, and her hobbles they used to be tight, now they're long. I think she just over trotted herself, but just looks beautiful now. Sunshine, Warwi Ultra, she'll be ready to go. And actually, I want to check and see when the SBOA, if the SBOA is coming up, we don't have to qualify. She just needs a clean charted line in 45 days. I could just school her, no problem. Then we just don't have to waste a qualifying trip. She runs again for any reason, then she would have to qualify. So that's another angle to look at. Schooling, cruising in style was good. Little flat, Sylvain thought, but a lot of mucus there. We'll work on that. White Tiger was unbelievable. I wish I'd have seen a video or something of that. He's a freak, and looks really, really good now. Delcrest Star Angel. For those of you guys that stayed in on Delcrest or have bought into Delcrest or have owned Delcrest Star Angel from the start, you'll be rewarded. I really like what I see in this filly, and excited to see what she's going to do. And as far as the racing last night, Hard 8, I didn't get to Hard 8, I apologize. Stonebridge Simba raced well. I thought his last quarter was 28 and a piece, last quarter half 56 and a bit. I haven't substantiated that. I didn't go through and look at the chart line. I believe that's what it was on the right line. We've seen that before. Not a big deal. We can put the gear on them to stop them from doing that. Maybe have the vet check them to see if they can find something now that wasn't there before. And Hard 8, although she finished 9th, we had the 10 hole. And Kevin, I see, used Ryan Guy. Obviously, Ryan's not a guy you usually see go with horses at Mohawk, but looks like he did a good job. Did exactly what he was asked. Stay out of trouble. Good last quarter. Give her a nice little workout. And that's what Ryan Guy did. Finished 9th, but last quarter in 28. And if my math is not wrong, last half in 55-1, 55-2. Good for Hard 8. So, a good start, a decent night at the track. Obviously not a monetarily speaking, not a great night, but the horses both raced good from what I could see. Our qualifiers were tragic and bad, and our schoolers were great. So, this stuff is terrible. For those of you who don't own shares in Sunshine's Finest, as a stable, we have to push forward. For those of you who do own shares in Sunshine's Finest and love the horse, and you all do, because he means a lot to us, obviously, we're going to need some luck over the next 8 or 9 or 10 days. So you can pray for him. Hopefully that infection stays out of that leg. If it does, the prognosis will be much better. So I'll give you more information as I get it. Right now, my wife is going to kill me if I don't get back home and back into bed. So I'm on my way there now. I know I'm a little banged up. This is a day after I did all this. I feel good. Feel okay. My ribs hurt. My elbow hurts. My wrist is killing me. But I haven't had any pain medication in 8 hours. 8 hours. So, can't be the end of the world. I'll heal, will heal, and the stable will go on. Win, lose, or draw, I'll be back on the track in 6 to 8 weeks. And, hey, the good news is we'll have some professionals fill in. Ow, don't make me laugh. We'll have some professionals fill in while I'm out. Talk to you guys soon. Take care. Thank you all again for the kind messages. It really means a lot. Take care.